Everyone feeling okay?
I've got money first.
I'll give you change.
So why don't we go ahead and just get started lying on our backs. Taking a moment to really arrive to your practice. To put aside anything that you've been working on today, any plans, any to-do lists, any responsibilities. Just putting everything aside for the next hour or so, and letting all of your attention, all of your awareness come inwards. Giving yourself that nurture, that space, giving yourself your time. So as you lie here, start to bring your awareness inwards, just by noticing the sensations in the body. Noticing how the body feels today. Notice if there's any tension anywhere in the body. Notice what feels good, what doesn't feel so good. Notice how you feel, how you've arrived mentally and emotionally today. Where's your energy in this moment? And then turn your awareness to your breath and just notice what it feels like to breathe without changing or directing the breath in any way. Just notice your natural breath. And then starting to guide the breath to become longer and fuller. Taking a more deeper breath using the full yogic breath technique. Breathing down into the base of your lungs, and then letting the breath rise from the base all the way up to the very top into your chest, collarbones. Exhaling, releasing that breath fully. And just continuing with that breath without forcing or straining, keeping the sense of softness around the breath. But a little bit more guidance, a little bit more control, so you lengthen the breath out. And feel as you're breathing vertically all the way down into the base of the lungs. See if you can breathe outwards into your ribs. Feel your ribs expanding in all directions, creating more space for the breath. And then maybe you can start using Ujjayi breath, making the breath a little bit more audible, like a gentle sigh in the back of the throat. Again, not forced, just a gentle Ujjayi breath, just to hear the breath. And then on your next inhalation, take the fullest breath you've taken so far, in through the nose, and then as you exhale, open your mouth and sigh audibly. Let the breath fall out of the mouth. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhaling a deep breath in, exhaling a loud sigh. Last time, inhaling, breathing in, exhaling, letting go. On your next inhalation, start to sweep your arms up and overhead, big long stretch for the body. Point your toes forward towards the center of the room. And then as you exhale, bring your knees into your chest and just give yourself a big hug in. And a gentle rock from side to side, massaging around the sacrum, around the tailbone and spine. And as you draw your legs in towards the chest, keep your pelvis rooted down to the floor, so your hips are down onto the ground. And then we're going to begin the class with some abdominal work. So we're going to need a brick for this. If you don't have one, I'll come and give you one. So the purple brick. So let's start off by taking our knees above our hips and our feet in line with our knees. And make sure you draw your knees forward so your feet are lifted. And draw your knees forward until you can feel the lower belly muscles having to work. So your thighs and your knees are going forward away from your body. Away from your body. Yeah. And then you'll feel that lower belly is starting to work, contracting those lower abdominal muscles. Lengthen your tailbone and your sit bones towards the top of the mat so you feel the small of your back lengthening and pressing against the floor. Good. So you should feel like you're doing some work here. Now, keeping this, we're just going to start making little pelvic tilts. So we're going to tuck the tailbone, draw the pubic bone in toward the navel, and then release that, let the tailbone fall back to the floor. Good. So you feel now that your lower back is lifted. As you tuck the tailbone, the lower back is going to press to the floor, and then release. Do 3 more of those. So just pelvic tilts, isolating the movement from the pelvis, rocking the pelvis forwards and backwards. Last time. Good. And then bring your feet all the way to the floor. And then sway your knees from side to side just to release that work. Release it from the pelvis, from the abdominals, from the back. So that was just starting to give us a little bit of awareness for where we should be. So we want that action of tucking the tailbone. This time we're going to bring the knees back up towards upright so that they're aligned over the hips. Good. And then lift your feet up in line with your knees. Good. And then feel that the knees are drawing away from you towards the top of your mat. Good. And then you can either keep your hands down by the side of your body, or if it feels more stable, take your hands behind your head. And then slowly lower your right heel towards the floor. Take a moment there, pausing, lengthen your tailbone to your sit bone. And then you just don't come down all the way. Lengthen the tailbone, your sit bone, so you feel the lower back pressing into the floor, and then bring that leg back up. And then switching sides, drawing that right heel towards the floor, keep the lower back flat, and then bring it back in. And then do 2 more on each side, going slow with your breath. Exhaling as you drop the leg forward, and inhaling as you bring the leg back up. Exhaling as you drop the leg forward. Inhaling as you bring the leg back up. Good. So this should be your last time, and then place the feet back to the floor. Let your knees sway from side to side just to release some of that work. Good. And now we're going to come into a bridge pose. So the bridge pose is going to work the abdominal muscles. It's also going to help us warm up the back and the spine. So for this bridge pose, we're going to take the brick in between our thighs. And then walk your feet back so your heels land underneath your knees. And your feet and your hips are hip distance apart. Make sure your toes are facing forward. So notice if your feet are widening outward. Good. And then your arms come back down alongside the body. And then you're going to just start with 3 pelvic tilts. So not lifting up right away. We're going to inhale, tuck the tailbone, feel the lower back flattening, feel the lower belly flattening and toning, and then release that. Feel the lower back lifting away, feel the belly pressing upwards. And then tuck the tailbone, feel the lower back flattening, lower belly toning, and then release that tuck. Good. And then continue that one more time. You're just going to stay with these, okay? And then we're going to press into our feet, lift the tailbone, come all the way up into our bridge pose. Good. So holding here, hug your legs into the block. Good. Feel that the weight is coming up into your shoulders, and your chest is coming in towards your chin. Good. Now, you can just stay here if you feel like this is hard enough, or if you want to increase this and get a little stronger work in the core, extend your right leg. Not lift it up towards the ceiling, but just lift the foot off the floor so your heel's in line with your knee. Yes. And then place the foot back down. Good. Other side, lift that foot up. Good. And then release it back down. See if you can do 2 more on each side. Place it back down. Try to keep your weight balanced. Notice how the weight wants to shift. Good. Can you link the movement with the breath? So inhaling to lift up, exhaling to drop back. Don't worry if you have an opposite breath, as long as one breath is one movement. And then take your feet to the floor. Slowly take the spine back to the ground, 1 vertebra at a time. Let everything settle, let everything sink, let everything rest. And then remove the block. We're just going to come up 1 time with the breath. So as you inhale, tuck the tailbone, lift your hips all the way up towards the ceiling. So this time we're just stretching more through the front body. And then as you exhale, slowly release. Come all the way down. Good. Take another breath here, breathing in and breathing out. Bring your knees back into your chest. Take your arms out to a T-shaped position, so nice and wide. Turn the palms up towards the ceiling. Hug the knees together, hug your feet together, and you're going to slowly lower your feet all the way, your knees all the way down towards the right side. Take your feet down first, and then lower. And then raise your knees up, so you don't lose too much movement. And then gaze towards your left hand. So this is just stretching out the side of that abdominal wall, letting your feet relax all the way to the floor. Good. Inhale, bring your knees back up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, lower your knees all the way over towards the left side. Good. Looking towards your right hand, just finding your breath in that right side of the body. Shoulders relaxed, face relaxed and soft. And then as you next inhale again, bring your knees back up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to come up to our seat. So we're either going to rock and roll, or coming up to the side, lying over to your side, using your hands and your arms to come up. Good. Coming all the way up to your seat. Fantastic. Let's just start with one leg crossed over the other, so easy sitting pose, Sukhasana. And then open up and stretch the side of the body. So right hand to the side of our hip. Good. And before we start to take the arm up, if we actually just slide the hand away, that actually starts to strengthen and tone the left side of the body. So slide your right hand outwards, press your left hip back to the floor, and then bring the hand back in. Now let's add the breath. So as we inhale, sliding that arm out. As you exhale, pull in through the lower belly. Feel that the pelvic floor is lifting up as you come back in. One more time. Out to the side. Good. Pull in from the lower belly muscles from the pelvic floor. Exhaling to come back up. Good. Inhale, slide the hand and reach the left arm up. This time as you exhale, stay there. Maybe even slide a little more and come into that big side stretch. Good. Palm of the hand towards the floor. And then feel like the armpit, the shoulder blades are drawing downwards away from your ear. Good. And then just let your head relax here so you get the stretch in the side of the neck. Good. Feel that your ribs are trying to spin upwards towards the ceiling. Take one more breath. And then as you exhale, slide the hand and pull the lower belly muscles in and take that left hand to the floor. Good. Inhale, slide the hand over, reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, go a little deeper. Good. So you can either slide the hand away a little bit more, or just bend the elbows if you're trying to take the elbow towards the floor. Keep the right thigh rooted down towards the floor. Good. Shoulder blade, armpit rooting down the side of the body. Take one more breath here. And then as you next inhale, come all the way back up. And as you exhale, take your hand back to the floor. Good. Let's open up the shoulders, the chest. Take your fingertips behind you. Roll the shoulders back, shoulder blades together. Lift your chest. Good. And just find the breath in the front of the body. Take one more breath here. Keep opening the chest, the shoulders, and then let the shoulder heads roll forward. Walk your hands back up by the sides of your hips. And then bring your hands forward and roll yourself onto all fours. Onto your hands and knees. Good. And take a moment just to open your hands wide, taking the weight across the whole of the hands, pressing your shins, pressing the tops of your feet down to the floor. Good. Establishing that connection. And as you connect to the floor beneath you, really push into the floor. Lift your chest away from your hands, away from the mat. Good. Lengthen your tailbone towards the back of your knee so you find a really nice neutral spine. And as you inhale, just bring your gaze forward, bring your chest forward. Good. Now feel what it's like if we, instead of letting the tailbone lift up so we get a big back bend, actually lengthen the tailbone towards the back of your knees. Feel how that pulls in the lower belly a little bit. Good. And then this time as we go into a cat pose, keep tucking your tailbone, tuck your chin, lift the spine, lift the ribs up towards the ceiling. Good. Inhaling, come back into your cow pose, but rather than a big back bend, actually lengthen your tailbone so the lower abdominal muscles are working. Look forward. Exhale, tuck your tailbone, tuck your chin, lift and round. One more time like that, inhaling into a variation of our cow pose. So the tailbone is lengthening rather than lifting up. And then as you exhale, tuck your tailbone, tuck your chin, lift and round all the way to that cat stretch. And then from here, just send your hips back towards your heels. Rest the forehead to the floor, relaxing the shoulders and the arms. Knowing that this pose is always there for you whenever you need a rest in your practice today. Finding your breath and letting your breath really guide your practice. And then on your next inhalation, we're going to come back up to all fours. And then we're going to slowly slowly come into a downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, send your hips back towards your heels, pressing into the whole of the hands, start to lift the knees, lift the hips up, coming into that downward facing dog. Marching out your legs and walking the dog, bending one knee at a time. And as you're opening up your legs, bring your attention, your awareness to what the upper body is doing, what the arms, the shoulders are doing. First, start from your foundations. Press the whole of the hands into the floor. No space underneath the knuckles. Good. And then from that grounding in the floor, we can really send the energy up the arms. Notice where your shoulders are. Are they rolling in towards your head, your neck? Can you roll them outwards, externally rotating? Good. Let your head drop. Let your chin come in towards your chest. And now sink your ribs, sink your heart back towards your thighs. So you feel like you're being pulled towards the back of your mat. Good. Now root both heels to the floor. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart, so a little wider than, beautiful. And then sink the heels down towards the floor. Don't worry if they get there. And then lift your sit bones up. Put a slight bend into your knees. So a slight bend into your knees. Now sink your ribs back a little bit more towards your thighs. Sink your heart back towards your legs by pushing into your hands. Good. Take one more breath here. And then we're going to look towards the hands and slowly walk the feet up towards the top of the mat. Good. And once you get to the top of the mat, just coming into your forward fold, letting the head be nice and long, the back of the neck long, head heavy, shoulders relaxed, knees are bent a lot so that the back can really release forward. And then a gentle sway from side to side here, just to release into that back, into the hips. Good. And if you have your socks on, you might want to take them off while you're already down here. And then we're going to slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. So if you're taking off your socks, roll yourself up when you're ready. If not, lift up the chin towards the chest and slowly begin to drag the body up. But bend your knees and use the weight, use the muscles of the belly to take the weight up rather than the back and the spine, letting the shoulders roll down the back. Good. Finding Tadasana in our feet, so separating the feet hip distance apart. Nice and parallel outside edges of the feet. Beautiful. Good. Press down through your feet, all four corners. Establish the strength in the foundation in your legs. Lengthen your tailbone towards the mat. Feel that the lower belly is drawing inwards. Shoulders relaxed. Good. And then here, really focusing on lengthening that tailbone, drawing the lower belly up. As you inhale, reach the arms up. Still feel your feet engaged, pressing into the floor. As you exhale, turn the palms of the hands down and just press your hands. Feel your muscles and your arms engaged as if you're trying to move through thick mud. Inhaling again, reach the arms up. And then as you exhale, take the hands down. And then one more time, inhale, reach the arms up. And then this time, bring your hands down to the center of your heart. Reach the heart towards the hands. So you're taking a nice long bow. Engage your legs. Feel that you're trying to lift the kneecaps up. And then as soon as you go beyond halfway, bend your knees and come back into that Uttanasana forward fold. Good. From here, slide your hands up your legs, lifting and lengthening the spine halfway. And then as you exhale, fold back in. Good. Inhale, lengthening. Come up halfway, pressing the heart forward, head forward, hips back. And then as you exhale, fold again. Good. And then we're going to step the right leg back and bring the knee down to the floor for our low lunge. Good. And then you can either stay here with your hands low to the mat, or bring your hands up to your knees, or take the arms all the way up. Remember, there's three options, three levels of this pose, and just choose which one is best suiting you today. Good. And for you, you can take your hands on the inside, give yourself a bit more space. Yes. Good. Feel that as you're trying to lift away from the ground, you're still pressing your feet into the floor, and the shoulders, the armpits are just sinking down. Good. Lengthen your tailbone. Feel that pulls in the lower belly a little bit more. Take another big breath in. And then as you exhale, bring your hands down, frame your front foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. And then look forward, lift your chest so you get a little deeper, a little stronger into that back leg stretch. Good. We're going to spin the back heel down. We're going to come into warrior one. So spin your back heel down so the front heel and the back heel are aligned. Back foot is about 45 degrees, so make sure that your toes are at an angle towards that right corner of your mat. And then either walking your hands up your leg or sweeping the arms up, whatever feels best to come up. Good. So if you're coming up with the arms coming straight up, feels like it unstabilizes you, walk your hands up so that you have a lot of grounding as you come up. Good. Sink the shoulders down the back heel, press into the outer edge of the back foot. Good. And then lengthen your tailbone, feel how that draws in the lower belly. Beautiful. Now we're going to stretch and open the chest. So we're going to bring the elbows down about shoulder height. Good. Hips are squaring towards the front of the mat. And then just pull the elbows back without letting your ribs flare open. Try to knit the ribs back, but just pull the elbows. So you should feel that opening across the chest. And then draw the elbows together. Feel that opening the shoulder blades behind your back. Inhaling again, open the elbows out, opening across the chest. And then as you exhale, draw the elbows back in. One more time, inhaling, opening across the chest. And then exhaling, draw the elbows back in. Good. Reach the arms back up, coming all the way to warrior one. And then we're going to take our hands to the heart center. And then straighten the front leg. Good. Take your hands to your hips as option one. Or option two, take your hands behind your back, either holding opposite wrist, opposite forearm, or opposite elbow. Make sure this right hip is going forward, and the left hip, left thigh bones all drawing back. So our posture is nice and square. Inhale, press into your feet, lift and rise. And then as you exhale, start to slowly tip forward over that front leg. Good. And you might have to really stabilize that front leg as you come down. Once you get into that stretch, the forward fold, soften the back of your knee so you're not hyperextending in the joint. Good. Taking another breath here. And then if you can go a little deeper, release the arms, maybe taking them to your leg, maybe taking one hand to a block, or taking the hands to the floor if you have that flexibility in that front leg. Good. Try to relax the shoulders, relax the neck. Beautiful. Keep pressing into that back foot, the back heel. So just be mindful of using all that flexibility from the relaxing foot. If you feel, oh, I can get a little lower. Just do that. Good. Bend again. If they say you might have some more, you might still have that relaxed leg. Yeah. So let's slowly come up. So take your hands back to your hips. Press into that front leg, come all the way up. Oh, good. We're going to step this back foot forward. So bend your knees if you need to. Take that step forward. Coming back to the top of your mat. Give your hips a little wiggle, a little shake. Now we're going to do a little bit of a balance. So we're going to still be working this front leg, so that hip might be getting a bit tired now. We're going to lift the right leg up. If you need the wall for your balance, remember you can always take that wall. Good. So just starting to see where our balance is today. Pressing into that standing leg, lifting up through the crown of the head, shoulders relaxed. We're going to take this top leg and wrap it around the standing leg. Good. Like you really had to pee, you're going to really squeeze the thighs in tight. Yes. You can always use that wall whenever you need it. And then start to slowly sit your hips down, as if you were sitting back on a chair. Keep your gaze focused on a drishti point. Good. Now this foot can either wrap around the lower leg, but if that makes your balance really unstable, then just keep it up to the side. That's perfectly fine. If you just want to stay here working your legs, stay there, or take your arms out to the side, adding the arms into the mix. Good. Take the left arm, wrap it on top of your right arm, bending the elbows, and just bringing the hands together. Oh, good. Yes. Falling with grace. And then slowly we're going to open the arms. Well done. That's a tricky one. Take that front leg, take it back to the floor. Give everything a little wiggle. Good. So we'll stretch out that hip later on. I'm sure it's feeling a bit tired. So let's come back to the top of the mat. We're going to do that whole sequence again on the other side. Well done. Inhale. Breathe in. Big, big breath, fill the lungs. And as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart, bring your heart to your hands as you take that forward fold. Feel your legs engaged, and then fold, bend your knees. Good. Step your left leg back and bring the knee down to the floor. Take a moment here. Release the back toes and just push down into your feet. Remember, you can always take the padding underneath your knee if you need it. And then as you next inhale, choose the option for your hands. Either the arms up, over head, arms by your ears, or hands just onto your front thigh. Good. Feel that lift and the lengthen, tailbone lengthening down, lower belly pulling in, ribs pulling in. Take another big breath. And then as you exhale, bring your hands down to frame the front foot. Tuck the back toe and lift the back knee off the floor. Good. So a nice high lunge. And then just look forward. Draw your shoulder blades back. Good. Take another breath here. And then we're going to come into warrior one. So spinning the back heel down. You might even have to step the back foot in just a little bit. I know I have to when I'm transitioning into this pose. Front heel, back heel aligned. Again, walk your hands up your legs if you need more stability, or reach them forward and up, using those abdominal muscles to come up. Good. It's a strong transition that way. Lunge into your front leg. Make sure your knee comes over your front ankle. Draw the shoulder blades down your back. Lengthen your tailbone. Feel the belly muscles pulling in. Feel the length in the lower back. Good. Take your elbows down so they're in the same height as your shoulders. Try not to let the ribs flare. Keep pulling back so you're zippering. Imagine you had a zipper for your abdominal muscles and you're pulling that zipper, keeping everything nice and tighted. Open your shoulders. Keep that zipper zipped. And then bring the shoulders, the elbows together, opening the back of the shoulders. Inhaling again, open up, breathing into the chest. Exhaling, breathe into the back of the body. Inhaling. And exhale. And then this time we're going to reach the arms up. Bring the hands back to the heart center. And then straighten that front leg. And we're going to come into pyramid pose. So making sure that if you need a little bit more balance, you can always take a wider stance. Good. At least your front heel's in line with the back heel. Making sure the hips are squared, particularly a lot in this pose. So you can even let your foot, the toes, come a little bit more forward if you need to do that to get the pelvis nice and square. You can take your hands to your hips or take the hands to your back, either holding opposite wrist, opposite forearm, opposite elbow. Lift up, straighten the front leg, and as you exhale, start to tip forward, hinging forward from your hips. So this is called the intense hamstring stretch. And you should be feeling wide. So just feel that you're breathing, you're compassionate with your body. Notice if you're locking into the back of the knee, create a little bit of softness there. And then release your hands down, either to your leg or to hands to the floor. Take another breath here. Keep squaring hips. Right thigh bone, right hip draws back. Left hip draws forward. And then we're going to come back up. Take your hands back onto your hips. Inhale, press on the front foot. Lift and rise. Come all the way up. And then step this back foot all the way in. Coming back to standing. Oh, give the hips a little shake if they need it. And then we're going to come into that balancing sequence. So if you need the wall again, take your wall. Good. And we're going to lift the left foot up, left knee up. And we're going to just check in with our balance today. Check in with the standing leg. Your hands can stay on your hips, or you can have your hands at your heart, whatever feels best to center in the upper body as well as the balance in the back, the bottom of the body, the foot and the leg. And then we're going to take that leg, cross it over the standing leg, soften your right knee as if you were sitting on a chair. Good. And again, that foot can just hang out to the side, or you can tuck it behind the lower leg. Good. You can just stay here, or you can take the arms open to the side. Good. Crossing your right arm over the left. Keep your gaze on your drishti. Beautiful. Lovely. And if you're using the wall, as you draw the elbow across, feel that the shoulder blade is pulling across the body. And that's where you're trying to open up the center of that back. That space between the shoulder blades. Good. And then slowly unraveling the body, opening the arms, opening the legs, and then just taking the hands back by your side. Oh, returning back to the top of the mat if you're not there already. Beautiful. Inhale, reach the arms open, lift and rise. And then as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart, heart to your hands, hinge forward in your forward fold. Take your hands down, bend your knees. Inhaling, honoring the heart one more time in a nice long flat back. And then as you exhale, folding back in. And then let's just step the right leg back, bring the knee to the floor, left leg back, bring the knee to the floor. And then send the forehead down, send your hips towards your heels. Just resting in your child's pose for a moment. Just feeling the breath. Letting the breath become long and lengthened, evening out again. And then as you next inhale, we're going to slowly come all the way back up. Good. So we're going to sit on our shins if that feels okay, sitting on our knees and our heels. If that doesn't feel okay, we're just going to stay here for another moment. We're just going to do another side bend sequence. If it doesn't feel good, then just come into your cross-legged pose. Good. We're going to take the right hand back out to the side. We're going to inhale, lift that left arm up, just like we did at the beginning. Slide the hand away or bend the elbow towards the floor and just take that big opening in the side of the body. Good. Breathe into that left side. And then push off that hand, come all the way back up and over to the left, reaching the right arm up, taking that big side bend. As you next inhale, come all the way back up. Good. And then we're going to take the hands behind us, and we're going to do that big chest opening, so just be careful, be mindful here. So we're going to take the hands behind us. If you're on your heels, we're also going to lift the hips up if that's an option for you. So if your legs are crossed, try to root your shins towards the floor, your knees to the floor. You roll the shoulders back, bring your shoulder blades together and lift the heart. Good. If you're sitting on your heels, see if you can lift the pelvis off the heels up towards the ceiling for a big front body stretch. Good. Modified camel pose. Good. And turn the fingertips towards you so you can really open up the chest. Good. And if you are on your heels, you can even walk your hands a little closer. If you can get the hips a little higher so you come closer towards your feet. Don't worry if your legs are crossed. Just stay where you are. Take another breath in. And then as you exhale, release your hips. Walk your hands back first. Let the heads of the shoulders roll forward. And come all the way back up. Come onto your hip. And then swing the legs forward. If you're cross-legged, just bring your legs forward. So coming into Dandasana, take your hands by your hip. Good. Flexing your feet and pushing your heels forward. Pushing down into the floor, opening the chest, feel the shoulders really broadening, the collarbones broadening. And then we're going to lift the heels off the ground. Good. Keep both heels lifted. See if you can lift the right leg just a little higher. Good. And as you lift the right leg, keep that lower back nice and lifted. And then release it back down. Good. Inhale, lift that left leg a little higher. Good. See if you can keep the right heel lifted. Ooh. And then release back down. Give everything a little shake, a little wiggle. Good. And then we're going to bring our feet in together, soles of the feet touching, knees open. So coming into Baddha Konasana. Good. And if you have a block to sit on, not the bricks, they're a bit too high, but the Ganji has that, but we don't have any of those. So we're going to actually roll the mat up behind us. This is just going to help to keep the lower back nice and tall. Sit yourself onto that rolled up mat. And feel that your pelvis, your sit bones, your seat is actually rolling forward. So you almost feel like you're tipping off of that little roll. That's just going to help to give you that anterior tilt in the pelvis. Good. Hands onto your ankles. Draw the lower legs into the upper legs. Relax the shoulders. Find the length, the space in your spine. Find your breath as if you're breathing from the base of your tailbone all the way up to the crown of your head. And as you exhale back from the crown of the head, down the spine, out through the tailbone. So this is a pose in itself, just staying upright. If you have the space and everything is okay in your sacrum and your lower back, then you can start to fold forward. But try to relax forward rather than pulling yourself forward. Shoulders relaxed, just breathing into the back of the body. You can even walk the arms out, getting a little bit more length so you start to stretch and open the sides of the body. Staying aware and present to your breath. And then slowly we're going to walk the hands back. We're going to send the left leg forward. And we're going to lift this right knee up. We're going to take the right hand onto the knee, and the left hand we're going to take onto the foot. And we're going to bring the leg across and into the body, almost like we were doing a pigeon pose or that thread the needle pose. Good. So you're going to bring it up into your body, lift and lengthen the lower back, and then just rock the knee from side to side. So not the whole body, just the leg. So you're trying to get the movement of the femur bone in your hip socket. And since we have a few expecting new mommies, rocking the baby pose, it's appropriately called. So you can be rocking your baby here. This is kind of level 1. Level 2, you can cradle your baby a little bit more by bringing your foot and your knee into the crooks of your elbows. If it doesn't feel good, stay where you are. That is a great place to be. Good. So you should feel a little bit that it's releasing into the hips. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring that foot all the way across that straight leg. So you might have to let go of the baby a little bit. Bring it all the way across the straight leg and then lower your right knee on top of your left knee. Good. Yeah. Something like that. That's good. That looks good. Pull the toes back up and push the heel forward. Good. So we're coming into a forward fold in this half Gomukhasana pose. So first take your hands behind you. Push into your fingertips and lift up, lengthen up through your spine. And then start to tip, relax the body forward, keeping that length in the back. And then if that feels okay, then you can take your hands forward, keeping all that length that we created in the spine without collapsing and rolling in the shoulders and the chest. Just finding your breath. Letting your breath be very gentle, but very full and deep, as if you could breathe into any of that tension and tightness you feel in your hips and your thighs. And then we're going to come all the way back up. Coming up to your seat. So now we're going to try the full Gomukhasana. We did this last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. So if you feel that it wasn't right in your knees and it didn't feel good, so it's this pose we're doing. If that didn't feel good in your knees, remember you can always do it on your back. It's the same pose. Feet are going to be opening, but you're still going to get it. So it's an outer hip stretch. So all that work we did kind of standing and balancing, strengthening these hips, we want to now release them. So you can get the same benefits on your back than you can sitting. So if it doesn't feel good at all in this pose, just come onto your back. So to get into the Gomukhasana, tip over to your left hip, bring your left heel towards your right hip, and then bring yourself back. And then you kind of have to tuck your legs in. Again, like you were really having to pee, just like we did in that eagle pose. So tip over to your right hip, Angie.
Yeah.
Yep, keep that leg crossed over the hip. Yep.
Yeah.
Tip over to your right hip.
I've got you in a muddle. Sorry.
So you're going to tip over this way, same way as me.
Yeah.
And then bring that heel, the straight leg in. And then bring yourself back. Ah, good. You're doing it. If your hip is really tight, your knee's going to be up here. One trick you can do to try to get it down, first you kind of take your hand physically on the ankle under your knee. Just lift it up very, very carefully. Don't push or pull too fast. You're going to bring it back in towards you. Another little trick to get your knees closer, come onto your hands, and then you can wiggle those knees together, and then sit your hips back. Good. Does it feel okay in everyone's knees? Yes? If it doesn't, come onto your back. Okay?
Whenever I'm doing it.
So now, we're going to see if we can fold a little bit forward. So if you're feeling that this is quite intense already where it is, then just stay here. If you can, start to come into a nice forward fold. Your forward fold might not move very much. But just finding that stretch. That's all we're doing, looking for our edge. Once we find our edge, breathing into it, softening into it. Try to keep softness in your shoulders and your back.
Could we just do this on the other side?
No.
Oh.
Is that feeling okay?
Yeah, it's not very comfortable.
So why don't we try it on your
on
your back?
yeah.
Because then you get the stretch, because you're quite tight in that hip. Yep. So well, let's cross this leg on top. Good. And then bring your hands onto your knees. Good. And then draw your knees in, feeling that stretch in your hip. And then what you do eventually is you walk your hands to your shins. And then you draw your shins. At the same time, you're opening your feet up and out. Good. And drawing them in. Feel that. And then because you're quite long, you can take your hands to your outer edges of your feet. And then you draw in. And then you try to keep the hips down. You're feeling that, aren't you?
Yes,
Good. So slowly come out of that pose. Beautiful. So press your head and shoulders back. I'll show you how to get it. Take your hand onto your shin. And then your feet are trying to lift up, and then you're drawing the legs into your chest. Feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So stay on your back. No, I allowed you. No. We're going to do the other side. So now if you are still in Gomukhasana, just tip over to your hip again. Take your legs straight. Uncross that top leg. Give yourself a little wiggle. Second side. Good. So bring that leg in towards you. Good. And then we're going to start by cradling the baby. So pick up the knee, pick up the foot. Turn the knee away from you and the foot in towards you so you get that external rotation in your hip. And then just gently rock from side to side. Good. And again, I wasn't a good example of that. Try not to rock the whole body, just the leg. So your hip. And then if you want to take it a little deeper, maybe hooking the knee into the crook of the elbow. Maybe the foot into the crook of the elbow. Keep the lower back lifting so you're sitting nice and tall. Good. And then from here, we're going to take that foot across the leg. So you're traveling the foot towards the right side of the mat. Stacking that left knee on top of your right. Good. Flex the foot, push the heel forward. Take your hands behind you, inhale, lift and lengthen the back. Keeping the length in the spine, start to travel forward into your forward fold. Good. And then maybe you stay there, maybe you take the hands a little forward. And sometimes it's nice just to hold the knee. And without collapsing in the shoulders and the chest, it's okay to drop your head to lengthen the back of the neck. But try to keep the broadening across the shoulders, the chest, the collarbones, all open. Directing your breath to wherever you feel the sensation, wherever you feel that edge in your stretch. At every exhalation, invite a sense of release, of relaxing, letting go of some of that tightness. And then slowly coming back up to your seat. Good. So if you're coming on your back, come on your back now. And we're going to come into Gomukhasana on the second side. If not, tip over to your right, bring the heel back, bring both sit bones back to the floor, and just reposition your legs, wiggle them in. If you need to come onto all fours, just get a little tighter, you can take that. Good. And if it felt good to get the length first by leaning back into your hands, and then coming forward, take that, or just walk the hands forward, take that. However you get into it, come into your forward fold. Keeping the spine nice and long. Good. And if you're on your back, as well as drawing the knees in towards the chest, start to open those legs up towards the ceiling. Good. And then you're creating resistance. You're pulling the legs down, but the legs are trying to open up. Good. And then keeping the hips pressing into the floor. Finding that breath, breathing into the edge. And then we're going to slowly come out of this pose. If you are lying on your back, just come back up to your seat. If you're in Gomukhasana, then we're going to unravel the legs. Take them back out, forward. Good. Give them a nice little wiggle. Make sure that you're sitting right on your sit bones and move the flesh back, just re-establishing that seat. You can always sit back on the roll. We're going to come into Dandasana first, so hands by our hips. See if you can press your legs down, lifting your heels up. So you're engaging through the tops of your legs. Press into your sit bones and lift up a little bit more in your lower back. Keep your shoulders soft and open. Good. And then see if you can lift the right leg up. And then releasing that right leg down and lifting that left leg up. Don't worry, just doing what you can. Even just lifting the heels up is a lot of work. And then releasing, and then relax. Soften your knees a little bit. We're going to come into forward fold. So you can use your strap if you want to around the balls of your feet. That sometimes enables us to get the hamstring stretch without compromising the back. The strap is an extension for your arms, so you could push the feet forward into your strap, keeping the back nice and long, and you can find your edge there. If you're not using the strap, then inhale, reach your arms up. And then as you exhale, pull forward. If you're using the strap, just draw back on your strap, push your feet into the strap. Focus on the length of the back. Good. And if you've reached forward with your hands, take your hands either to your lower legs or to your feet, wherever you reach. Draw your shoulders back into their sockets, everyone. Feel the shoulder blades sliding down the back. Let every breath invite a little bit more exploration in the pose. Inhaling offers a bit more length. Exhaling, releasing and letting go. Good. Keep pressing the heels forward, the toes back. Allow your breath to stay full. And then as you next inhale, slowly coming all the way back up. Letting your shoulder blades just fall down your back. Good. We're going to come on to our back now. So either coming down in this variation, except for Helen, Helen's just going to come to her side. So you're using your abdominal muscles, and if this doesn't feel good for anyone else, besides Helen, just come down to your back, whatever feels best. So we're going to do it together. We're going to reach the fingers out, and we're going to start to release the back one vertebra at a time. So start to tip the pelvis back, and then lowering one vertebra at a time. Good. So you're using that core, the abdominal muscles, as your braking system. And then as you inhale, as you come all the way down, reach the arms up and overhead one more time. And then as you exhale, bring your knees back into your chest. Give yourself a big hug in and a gentle rock from side to side. Good. Now we're just going to do a nice restorative bridge pose. So really nice for the back. Take your feet to the floor. Take your block in your hand. Feet and knees are hip distance apart. Arms down alongside the body with the block ready in your hand. And then you're just going to tuck the tailbone, lift your hips up, slide the block underneath your sacrum, and lower your sacrum, your hips, onto the block. So it should feel like the block is big enough to support the back of your pelvis without feeling any discomfort. It should feel that it's found that kind of flat plateau area, the back of your hips. And just adjust it until you do find that. And then let your hips drop into it. And if you wanted a little bit more stretch and opening across the tops of the thighs and your hip flexors, you can try seeing what it feels like to drop one leg forward. Maybe both legs go forward. Maybe the arms go up and overhead. But keeping the lower back pressing forward, so you almost get that lengthening of your tailbone again, just like we explored at the beginning of the class. And again, if that doesn't feel good honestly in your body, then just keep the knees bent. That's going to give you just as much benefit. If your legs are straight, remember lengthen the tailbone forward. Feel like you're about to tuck the tailbone off the block. Keep the lower back long. Breathe into the front of the body. And then slowly walk your feet back if the legs were out, extended. Bring the arms down alongside the body if they were overhead. And then push into your feet. Lift the hips up. Remove the block and slowly, one vertebra at a time, release your back onto the floor. Take a moment here, breathing in and breathing out. Bring your knees back into your chest, giving yourself a big hug in, a gentle rock from side to side. And we're just going to end with a spinal twist. So open your arms out to the side, dropping your knees down to the right, gaze to the left. Taking the effort to get into the pose, but then releasing the effort once you're in the pose and just letting the whole body soften and relax. your next inhale, bring your knees back up towards the ceiling. Exhaling, using those belly muscles, tummy muscles to lower the legs over to the left. Good. Gaze to the right. Again, relaxing, making that right shoulder heavy. Breathing into the chest. Softening, relaxing the muscles in the back. And then as you next inhale, engage the belly muscles first. Keep your knees together as you lift back up. And then take your feet to the floor. Take your arms a little closer to the body. If you need to put your socks or a jumper on to stay warm during your final relaxation, you can take that now. So following on with our series of the yamas, we were discussing the yamas in the last few classes. And we're on the third yama, third week, third yama. And this week's yama is non-stealing. So it's called the shreya, non-stealing.
Non-stealing.
Non-stealing. So I'm not going to lecture you the importance of not stealing someone else's properties, although we all should know that that's a good boundary to set. But non-stealing in our practice, today we're going to look as we go into Shavasana, how we can sometimes allow the mind to steal us away from present moment. How we can indulge and get so busy in our heads that we're not truly present. We're not bringing all of our awareness to what is here now. So in your Shavasana, as you're relaxing, moving towards stillness, just simply observe without any judging or criticizing. Just observe how often that mind tries to pull us away. How often we indulge in those thoughts, get lost in those daydreams. Just noticing how often we steal away from the beauty that is in the present. And if we do find ourselves drifting away, then just use your breath as the tool to bring yourself back. As that guide rope, drawing yourself back to stillness, back to the here and the now, of just being. returning back to your breath. Gradually taking a deeper breath in, maybe even a sigh out. Slowly moving fingers and toes, and stretching the body more deeply, maybe even the arms up and overhead. Bringing our knees back into our chest, giving ourselves a gentle rock from side to side. And coming to lie over onto our right. Just taking a moment, noticing how we feel, noticing the effects of our practice on all the layers of our being. On our body, on our mind, on our spirit. And when you're ready, slowly coming back up to your seat, using your hands in that side laying position. Just taking our hands to our heart center, bowing our forehead to our fingertips, and just honoring that state of being within us, a state of peace, of love. Namaste. Thank you very much.
Is this sort of place that you do?
There's a Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock. That's the last one.
Right, no, that's all right.
There's a Thursday still